Hi everybody. I was so delighted by the response to the note on Facebook about holding Japanese lessons. I think after 2 hours of posting that, we already have about 57 people who have said they want to come and learn some Japanese. So, yokoso, welcome. This is the primer for the first lesson, and I just wanted to set out some basic stuff so you know what you're letting yourself into during these Japanese language sessions. So the first thing to say is that I encourage you to make mistakes during the lessons. So it's best, of course, if you try to concentrate on making the correct responses when we are doing our conversations. But please don't be afraid to make mistakes, because you will learn from your mistakes and other people will learn from your mistakes. So it doesn't matter if one person gets it right and another person gets it wrong. This is something that everybody else is listening to, and they all learn from it. So we really, really learn by making mistakes. This is what I think is the secret to learning languages, is to throw yourself in there and make mistakes. Nobody's going to laugh at you unless you say something really, really funny. Okay, so please make mistakes. And when we do our sessions, I'll be asking people to respond to certain questions. But if you're not answering that question, what I would ask you to do is to answer all the questions in your head. So I'll give everybody a little bit of time to think about the answer, then I'll ask somebody to respond. But I'd ask you all to think about what the answer is in your heads first. And then we'll listen to the maybe the correct answer or maybe the wrong answer, and then I'll try to give you the right answer or correct it if it's wrong. So please don't be afraid to make any mistakes. The majority of the lesson is going to be focusing on grammar, and I'm going to explain it using English. I'm not going to try and teach you while I'm speaking Japanese. That's going to be too challenging for a lot of people. So I'll be explaining grammar in English, and then we'll be practicing that grammar and putting vocabulary onto that grammar. So we will learn words, but we'll learn the rules first. So we'll build up our understanding of the words and our memory of the words by putting them into sentences and making phrases. I've made a little Boolean sign here to remind me that Japanese is a really nice language to learn because it's very logical and it's very consistent. The rules are very set and it's very simple. The number of tenses is much fewer than in English. There are so many things which we use in English that you don't need to use in Japanese. You understand things by context. So it's a really nice language to learn by starting with the grammar and then building up your vocabulary this way. The only things that I hope you'll have to make notes of will be very few. So probably a good start for lesson 1 is remembering that this is the simple sentence structure for most Japanese basic sentences. So we would possibly start with the subject, but we might not start with the subject because it might be obvious to the speakers. You may already know, if you have learnt any Japanese, that it's very rare for you to say anata wa to mean you. If you're talking to somebody and you want to say, will you go to Tokyo? You don't normally say anata wa Tokyo ni ikimasu ka? Because if you're asking the person, they know that you're talking about them. So it's often seen to be a little bit irrelevant or redundant to use the subject. So, for example, if I'm talking about me, I may not even bother saying watashi wa, because it's very obvious to the person I'm talking to that I'm talking about myself. So quite often we don't have to worry too much about the subject. Then all of the information that's going into your sentence, things like the object that you're talking about, the location, any adjectives or adverbs or time or any other details can go in any order. You can throw them in there any order. The colour, the time, the feeling, all this stuff is all in any order you like. So that's really, really easy. And at the end of the sentence, something which is quite different to English and probably lots of Latin languages, is we put the verb at the end of the sentence, or des, which means it is, or I am, or you are, or they are, or we are. It's all des. So it's really, really easy. So this is the structure of most sentences subject at the beginning, information in the middle, and verb at the end. Nothing more to learn really. And then, as some of you may already know, to turn this entire thing into a question, we just write ka at the end, and then it's a question. Okay, a bit like a raising intonation in European languages. What else have we got? If you've done any Japanese language study before, almost certainly the demon for Japanese languages are the particles. So these are things like in English, the words for at or in, to, with, of. We will do some practice of these and we will learn how to use them. But I don't want you to get too worried about them, because actually some of the rules that might be written in a slightly confusing way in textbooks, actually in conversational Japanese, they're much easier to understand and much easier to remember. So just reference for this first session, if you're talking about doing something at a place, then the particle we use is de to mark the place. If we're going to somewhere, or if we are at somewhere ourselves, so this is something called the intransitive verb, then we mark the location with ni. If we are doing something with somebody or by means of something, then we often use the particle to. So I am going with my friend, tomodachi, meaning friend, to. And then you can say together we will go to Tokyo. And one thing that we will use quite often to mark possessives is no. So if I want to say my cat, then I would say watashi, which is me or I, no, meaning possessive, neko, cat. Watashi no neko, which again is slightly reversed for European languages in a way. So it's not the cat of me, it's me of cat, to say watashi no neko. That's basically it, all you need to have written down and memorized for lesson 1. One thing I would say is when we start our Zoom sessions, can I ask you to log in using your full name rather than using any funny handles or nicknames, unless it's a nickname that I already know. It will just make it easier for me if I have your name, first name actually, or your full name. I don't mind, but it'll be easier to for us to work together, especially if there's a big group. If I can see your name on Zoom. Okay, well, I'm really looking forward to our first session, and I'll get it organised very soon, just as soon as we know when the best times are for people. I hope you enjoy it, and let's have fun learning Japanese together. Bye!